Welcome everyone to Stay Treat number 22 and Jennifer Wilkov, our special guest speaker today. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Jennifer Wilkov, a #1 international best-selling award-winning author, producer, an award-winning freelance writer, the literary agent matchmaker, and a respected book, business, and entertainment creative consultant for nearly 20 years. Jennifer was selected as the top motivational speaker, business consultant, and best-selling author of the year for 2024 by the International Association of Top Professionals. She supports first-time writers and creators and seasoned authors, screenwriters, scriptwriters, and playwrights with the essentials to become a bestseller: a great project, a strong platform, and a well-polished pitch, presentation, and hook for their book, television project, film, or theater project. She passionately teaches and educates writers as a speaker and program producer at writers' conferences, including Writers' Digest conferences, American Society of Journalists and Authors, Thriller Fest, Women in Publishing Summit, California Creative Writers Conference, and others, and for groups such as the Writers Guild of America, Motion Picture Association, and New York Women in Film and Television, where she leads the writers groups as a platinum member and teaches online for writers' resources such as Writers Digest. She's a member of Women in Film in Los Angeles and San Francisco Bay Area, and the creator and producer of the Next Bestseller Workshop Virtual, a safe place that provides writers with exclusive access to the dream team to help writers learn to talk effectively with industry professionals about their projects. Her keen eye for stories that sell for both books and in Hollywood is trusted by industry professionals who appreciate her savvy in seeing the many possibilities a subject can lend itself to. Her book is yourhook.com is her website. We'll have her information in the chat for you, and much more later. So welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here with our group. I'm going to spotlight you so you can take it away.
Thank you so much, Rusty. Hey, it's so nice to be with you all here at the Stay Treat on Saturday afternoon or morning, wherever you might be. I am here in cloudy Brooklyn, New York. So it's a great day to write. And thank you, Rusty, again for inviting me to join all of you today. I'm really looking forward to talking with you about one of my favorite topics, which is marketing. It's usually the most confounding part of having a book, is how to actually let people know you've written it and that they can read it. And so today we're going to talk about marketing your book to success before, during, and after you get it published and you release it. This is really an important process, and I'm going to take you through some information today. I am going to be using slides. I am going to ask you if you would please actually raise your hand. If you are unfamiliar with Zoom for any reason, if you go to the React button, if you have done the Zoom update, or reactions, if you have not, and you click on it, you will see at the very bottom of those reactions a raise hand button. If you want to practice, you can go ahead and do that. But when you do, you'll raise a little hand in the upper corner. I'll show you what it looks like, right? So there's my hand, right? And I will see that, and that for me will move you to the front of all the images that I see of all of your wonderful faces, so that I can actually call on you and at the appropriate moment so we can answer your question. Okay, other ways to ask me questions. You can also ask me in the chat. Okay, I'm really good at looking at the chat. So if you have a question, either write it down or put it in the chat. Okay, and at the end, I will go through the chat and I will also answer all those questions. Okay, so don't worry, I've got you for the next time that we're going to be together during this session. And so let's get started. So as Rusty said, I've been doing this for nearly 20 years. I've worked with people who have gone to big publishing houses, and I've also worked with people who have self-published. our company, Your Book is Your Hook, works with all 5 ways to publish. So I want to remind you that audiobook publishing is also another avenue. So that's another presentation. But I do want to remind you of all the different ways now in our current publishing landscape that you have to publish. That's why marketing is so important, because this is what we're going to talk about. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about why it's important to set goals for your marketing. And what that means by taking the time to actually plan before you execute. This is really important, to plan, to actually not throw spaghetti at the wall. We're going to talk about what is really important in this arena. The other thing I want to encourage you to do, we're going to talk about it. Yes, we are. We're going to talk about digital marketing. The internet is a very powerful resource for you. Building online awareness, reaching beyond those you can reach in person is important, especially now with the internet these days. And I'll tell you a story about one of my books and why digital marketing now is so important. We'll also talk about generating more sales at each stage as you're going through the process of publishing. Don't discount those in-person opportunities, because those offline strategies are just as important of getting your message out and building relationships. We're also going to talk about you've got to be able to measure. Measuring is important because when you measure, you can evaluate, assess, and correct. And that's how you keep your momentum going. And I want you to understand how to do that. I also want you to get some key reasons about why that tracking actually will help you elevate your marketing and your traction and grow your readers. Because after all, when we write our books, we write them for the reader. And I'll tell you a fun story about that and why that's important. We're also going to talk about mastering your book marketing efforts and understanding that it's you who controls your project's success. Nobody else but you. And so as we go along, I want you to keep in mind that these are our slides, okay? Yay, Bonnie, you love digital marketing. Yay, okay. What's really important about being able to do this is we're going to be building. And if you haven't guessed yet, by the time you get out of this session, you'll know exactly what to do and when. And that's why I love doing this session. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so what's the first thing we want to do? Well, one of the most important things we can do is set goals. How do you set goals? Goals are based on time. You have very important assets in your world. The most important thing you don't get any more of is time. So timing in marketing is everything. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that there are certain phases that you're going to have during the process as you get closer to publishing, right? That you want to be able to start preparing your audience, gathering them, giving them, and setting up your stages to inform them and to keep inviting them, right? Marketing is an invitation. Hey, over here, right? I'm over here on the street corner. Look at what I have. That is the basic marketing technique. We just have now digitized it in so many ways, but we do that in all forms. So don't discount what marketing really is, okay? So timing. What's the timing? Your goals should be prior to your book's release, 4 to 6 months before it. You want to build your website. You want to start working on your social media following if you don't have one. And you want to start building your email list. You want to pick a CRM, a customer relationship management system, which is a system that allows you to email people in bulk. You basically have one email that you send out to multiple people. This could be anything: MailChimp, Constant Contact, mailer list, all kind, a HubSpot, lots of them. Okay, there are lots and lots and lots of them. You have to find the one that you're comfortable with, and you have to use it. It's going to help you also manage your list. Okay, so make all those decisions, get your website up, whether you're going to work with a web team or you're going to work with somebody that you know, or you're going to do it yourself, which I always say as an author. I'm going to make my little disclaimer here now. Writing and publishing is a team sport. It is not something to be done on your own. It really isn't. And if you are smart, you'll build the team that's actually going to be in the same focus you have. The focus is not on them and what they do. It's on you and your project and what you want to do. I want to educate. I want to entertain. I want to scare people. I want whatever, right? Whatever you're writing, that's really important. And it's really important because it gives you the opportunity to actually inspire people, right? Whatever it is that you're writing, that's what we want the team to be focused on. So what's next? Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so now we're going to move down the timeline a little bit, right? So 2 to 5 months, depending on how many of the first pieces you have built already. And we want to now get ready. Let's get ready, right? Media training. You want to have talking points. You want to interview and hire a publicist if you're going to use one. You also want to develop partner alliances. You may want to be in groups with other writers. I always encourage people to be in groups with other writers. You might have other writers who promote your work if you promote theirs. I also am part of other groups of writers where basically they run promotional days where people opt in to actually promote all the books in that particular event, which is great. Partner alliances are fabulous. Affiliate programs are also great. They allow you to provide people that promote your stuff with a benefit. You pay them or you do something else to actually provide them with a benefit. Partner alliances are really important. This business is much better as a ride for you when you got great partners. Now, what happens? Uh-oh, our book's coming out in 1 to 2 months, right? The 1 to 2 months prior, that's when you want to start getting everything together. You want to get reviews together. You want to have a book launch plan. And you also want to get your press release or releases written. Now, for me and my clients, we write a press release that announces the release of the book. And then we write a press release about the Amazon bestseller they're going to become and get that ready, because that's something that I help people do is Amazon bestseller campaigns. And so you want to be able to actually position yourself so you can reach the media and so you can communicate with other people. Hey, I'd be a great podcast guest for you. Hey, I'd be a great this for you, right? Hey, I'd love to join your event. This is what my book is about. That's your press release. It is your communication vehicle. This is all setting goals, but what else is it? Yep, you guessed it. It's actually preparation, right? It's kind of like if I know something is coming, I want to be prepared for that. Okay, you want to be prepared for that? Great. Give yourself the right amount of time. Give yourself the runway. Give yourself the right amount of time to talk to people. You know, I'm a consultant. There are lots of other people that you can talk to about what are you doing? What are you doing? Right? And how can they help you? It doesn't mean that you have to work with everybody. It means that you want to put together your highest and best plan, right? Before you throw spaghetti against the wall. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, great. We're going to keep going here. All right. Now, let's get to Bonnie's favorite topic, digital marketing. All right, it's one of mine too. So before we talk about digital marketing, I'm going to tell you a story about one of my books. Okay. Voice Before Business is a book that I co-wrote with another writer. It was one of my many books. It was her first book, okay, and only book. Voice Before Business is a book about the single girl's guide to having it all. And it was released in 2010. It was published by a publisher. And we had lots and lots of unconventional marketing. Okay, I'm going to keep telling you about the marketing that we did. What I'm going to tell you now before we talk about digital marketing is that in 2010, how many years ago was that? 14 years ago, right? The digital landscape was not what it is today, right? It's not like nobody was using something called AI. Nobody actually heard of any of that stuff. And all the social media platforms were babes in the woods, right? We were all just kind of learning about them. Well, we did things, which I'll tell you about in the offline section, that blew people away. However, now it's 2024. That's right. We're about to release our second edition of that book, 14 years later, in an environment like this. Digital marketing matters. For us, we happen to have been very prolific in our content writing back then, and we're hoarders. So it's very easy for us to take our previous content and eliminate Blackberries and DVRs and VCRs and update it, right? But still, we have to understand the digital marketing space. And let me tell you, we're really leveraging it. Okay. Now we're going to talk about it. Okay. Here we go. Now, in social media, what you have to do is you have to understand who is going to read your book. Who? Who is the person that's going to read it? Where do they live? Where do they show up on social media? Where do they get their stuff from, right? Where do they like to look? Are they an Instagram person? Are they a Facebook person? Are they a professional person like on LinkedIn? Are they someone who is female, who loves to look at Pinterest, loves to create pins on their boards? Who is your reader? When you write for the reader. You write to the reader. You use the language of the reader. When you market, you know the reader. You understand who your primary reader is, and you market to them. All the others will fall in, I promise you. But trying to market to 5 different groups is really something that's going to create confusion for you and chaos in your marketing. It's not clear. I'm all about clarity. Clarity is king. And when you have clarity, you get sales. And the right people buy your stuff, right? So you want to understand which channels are best for your book. So let's talk about it for a moment. Who, put it in the chat. Who do you think is on Instagram? Who are those people that are on Instagram? Male, female, age. Who are they? Who's on Instagram? Okay. Instagram has been for a long time where millennials are. They have left Facebook for the most part, and they have shifted, right? And they like Instagram. Okay. Who's on Facebook? What kind of people are on Facebook? I want you to think about that. Male, female, what age group, what professions, who's on Facebook? These people, now just because you can get on Facebook when you're 13 doesn't mean it's a bunch of 13-year-olds because I'm on Facebook, right? But you have to know your market, right? Facebook tends to be older now. It's 40s, right? 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and higher. Facebook is something most people have known for a long time. Yes, it's morphed, and yes, it has its problems, but people are still on it. They're connected to people. Facebook is about connecting. Instagram, for many people, is about following, right? There's a difference. You have to look at the market, right? Instagram is about FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh my God, I got to follow this person. I got to blah, 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 blah. Okay, great, fine. Okay. Facebook is about connecting. High school friends, college friends, sorority friends, people that you've worked with, people that you've attracted, other people that you've met in different conference environments or other events. Facebook is where a lot of people find each other, right? It also has an author page. Ding, ding, ding. Gives you a presence without a website. Okay. Now, what's LinkedIn? We'll do these last two real quick. LinkedIn is where all the professional people are, right? So if you have a business book, that's where you want to be. You want to be reaching the people that are talking about the business you're writing about. And Pinterest. Please don't forget about Pinterest. Pinterest is that place that's more than 70% female. Hello. If you're writing for women, don't discard Pinterest. 70% women. Lowest cost ads, highest converting ads. Don't knock it till you try it. Now, what's important to know about all these? In the land of digital media, reels have taken over. Don't like your face on video? Get used to it. It's the number one way we communicate now. TikTok, YouTube. Now, whether TikTok is going to stay around or not, I don't know. But YouTube is here to stay. And it's a great place to build out your video platform. It integrates seamlessly with Pinterest, and it also gives you an opportunity to repost those videos. People create podcasts on YouTube because they record interviews and they post them out there. Lots of creativity going on around the video space. And on Facebook, you can also use Reels. And on Instagram, you can also use Reels, right? And on LinkedIn, you can also use Reels. Hello, hi. Create once, right? Multiple use. Okay, last thing. when you actually are looking at Facebook, you can create something called stories. You can put up something that's there. It's very short and it only stays for 24 hours and then it dies. It goes away and nobody can see it and neither can you. Okay. Now that I've overwhelmed you with the fire hose of social media, my apologies sincerely. I want you to think about all the ones I just said. I want you to write down on your paper one of the ones that I just said. Where is your market? For 6 months, you should develop one. Don't try to run after all the ones I said. That was not my intention. Okay, I tiptoed you down the lane so you could look left and look right at the lovely shiny objects. Pick one. Develop that one. Develop that one. And you will actually get lots of traction. Okay. You can also make guest posts on people's blogs. You can also do guest posts in other places. Remember, these are things that get you out there in the digital space. Podcasts are digital. They are auditory, or, you know, they may show up on Apple or they may show up on other podcast stations that have developed over the years. You can also look at podcast information that's in YouTube. Remember, I just mentioned about YouTube? That's one of those things that's really important because YouTube is one of those things that allows that video communication to come through. Be a podcast guest. There are networking groups that allow you to introduce yourself as a podcast guest. Be a guest. Be my guest, right? It's one of those things where got to get used to being seen. Okay. A newsletter. Oh, yeah, that email list I talked about. Right. Oh, gosh. Okay. A newsletter. A newsletter is something that's very important. I promised you at the end of this presentation, I'm going to invite you to join my newsletter. Why? Because I want to keep communicating with you. I want to be in touch with you. I want to help you. I want to inspire you. I want to inform you. If you have a book and all your information is about your book, your newsletter doesn't only have to be about your book, right? So I'll give you a story about another person I've worked with, okay? I had a literary agent, which happens to me often, who brought me one of her clients and said, I can't get her manuscript to move. I need you to take a look at what's going on with her marketing. Like what's going on with her. She was an equestrian. Okay. And she also used essential oils. And guess what she did on her website? She put them all on the same website. Now, it was very hard to understand that she was really an author, right? And so I took a look at it. She was working with a website person who basically would not listen to her. Ta-da. And I said, if you're going to have these 3 things on your website, then you have to delineate them. So when I come, I understand you're a writer. That's really important. You can show me the other stuff in an elegant way. But if your whole purpose of having the website is about writing, then we have to get your projects in front. We redid the website, fired a website designer. She got somebody else. And she was writing historical fiction. Okay. So, you know, like stories about Annie Oakley and all those wonderful women in the West. That's what she was writing about. So guess what? It went along with her equestrian interests. All these women were horsewomen, just like she was. and it wasn't integrated in her original site. Why, of course she's a horsewoman, right? She knows how to write about them. And so on her bio page, we had a beautiful picture of her with her and her horse as her bio image, which drew a lot of the pieces of the website now together underneath her, right? And that was what really helped to actually bring it back to the literary agent to move it, because now it made sense. What was she writing and who is she and all this other stuff, right? So part of what you want to be able to do in all this is when you have what you're communicating, it needs to make sense digitally to somebody. Okay. This is something that really is important. Like I have another literary agent that recently brought me somebody with a deck of cards. I also help people publish deck of cards at Your Book Is Your Hook. And it wasn't for publishing because they were going to a traditional publisher, which was fine. And I've known this literary agent for years, like I've known many, many others. She said, I need her to have 20,000 followers. She's not even like scratching the surface. How can you help her? So I did a consultation with her to get her started. Right. And she was a coach. Right. And so I said, you've got to get your mind out of the one-to-one world, and you've got to get your mind into the one-to-many world. That's the beauty of digital marketing. Okay. I'm one of those people who has thousands of followers, especially on LinkedIn. But I'm also on other sites, and people find me and know me. That's what you want. You want people to know your series, your book, your name. So you've got to go where the readers are that you have. Where do they live? Where are they looking for your stuff? Take a moment now. I'll give you about a minute here. Just make a note. Answer my question for yourself. Where are your readers? Go.
Do you mean what platform?
Yep. Twenty seconds. Ten seconds. Okay, let's come back together. Now, remember I told you we were going to be building during this session. This is not just a sit back and relax session, right? This is a thinking, let's put it together session, okay? That's how I work. That's how I love to work with people in these sessions and all the time. Let's do something, right? All right, let's do something. Let's get offline. Let's get offline. Everybody these days says, how can we get online? How can I get online? Well, my friends, do not discount the offline power. I'm going to tell you two stories. One is mine, one is my clients. Okay. Remember Voice Before Business? I told you about that from 2010. So what did we decide to do? Well, in that 6-month period before we were going to release, well, we went out and made a few deals. I went from contact to contract with Saks Fifth Avenue in New York City and landed not only our kickoff pre-event the night before our book released at the flagship store of Saks Fifth Avenue. We also landed a 2-year deal touring Saks Fifth Avenue throughout the nation, making presentations in their women's department in their store. And we were all over the US. They would clear out the women's section. Usually in the evening, we did have one that was a brunch. They were spectacular. We had white glove service serving champagne. We had Trish McEvoy as a sponsor. And yes, we have a testimonial from her in our second edition because she was so supportive. She made sure she had makeup artists at every location when we were going to be there, and enough of them to give our guests a 5-minute makeover. We had Hint Water as a sponsor, who, in addition to that champagne I told you about, we served Hint Water. And we did a 35-minute presentation about Boys Before Business. And we also promoted one of our sponsors, Beaches Resorts by Sandals in Turks and Caicos, who has a program called BFF, Best Friends Forever, 4-day weekend, which we actually participated in 4 times in years while we were working together, and our book was in their gift bag. And I got to do 3 of them, so I got to go to Turks 3 times. But we forged all of that before we actually released the book. And part of what we did, that was all in person. Everything I just told you about was in person, right? Nothing was online. And when we actually launched our book, we launched in Columbus Circle in New York City, where there was a Barnes & Noble that had a room upstairs for 75 people, and we had standing room out the door. And we were up on the stage there on stools. We have photos we show people with our banner and our book, and we did a book signing. Hey, what's a book signing? It's an in-person event. You know, we still do, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'd be happy to sign your book, or I'd be happy to sign it for someone else. A book signing is a wonderful thing. In fact, one of my clients today is in Exeter, Pennsylvania at Barnes & Noble doing an event for her book. She has a middle grade book that I'm the editor of her books, and this is her first one. And she's at Barnes & Noble out there. In September, she's going to be in Barnes & Noble out in Scottsdale, Arizona. And she's doing it. She's doing it in person. She also has a booth at something called Pirates and Wenches that happens down in Maryland. It's an event. They have a booth and they sell the book right from the booth. Where can you go? If you were on my newsletter, you know that last week I sent out one of my marketing tips about book fairs. Book fairs are in person, and they're all over the nation. I love marketing. I ate it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And one of the things about marketing is that there are many ways to do it. You just need to find your comfort zone. That's why I'm saying on the online thing, don't drive yourself bananas. Pick one, right? Because there's so much more you could do in person. You could offer to go to book clubs. This is something you can do online if they are online in a Zoom type of book club, or you could go in person and visit. I've done both. We can talk to them about your book. Your book could be the book that's chosen by one of the readers in the group, and then you could offer to go and talk to them about it. Talk to them about your experience writing it. Talk to them about why you did it in the first place. Talk to them about your characters. Talk to them about your life if it's your memoir. These are all things that are great. Connecting with writers groups works. It gives you an opportunity to meet people in an intimate setting. You can also go to independent bookseller events. I promote these all the time. Go to your local bookseller. They're dying to have people walk through the door and buy a book in their shop. What's great for you about independent booksellers is when you walk in and you distribute your book the right way, they can order it. And they can actually have it in the store for you to sign for people who come to the event. Now, I'll give you a story about that. For Boys Before Business, we did this in our 2010, tour and stuff. We were out in Scottsdale, Arizona. We happened to have received a case of books, 2 cases of books that we happened to have in my partner's father's car trunk. We went into Barnes & Noble. It was standing room only out the door. We did a book signing and they ran out of books. And we said to her dad, can you go get those cases we just got? We brought 2 cases of books into Barnes & Noble and completed the signing for everybody that was there and let them sell them. Of course, it took us 6 months to get Barnes & Noble to pay us, but that's okay. That's something else, right? But we actually had those opportunities. Independent booksellers are smaller. They're more intimate. They have very loyal local shoppers. You want to be on the poster of that window. It's a great opportunity. Okay, libraries. Everybody doesn't talk about the libraries. I've spoken at so many libraries. I've spoken at the New York Public Library here on Fifth Avenue. I've spoken at the Brooklyn Public Library here in Brooklyn. I've spoken at small libraries. I've spoken at big libraries. I've spoken to small groups of people. I've spoken to larger groups of people. Libraries have members. Members can only take out the books for so long. If they like them, they want to get them. They will get them online. They will take out their phone. They will buy them on Amazon. They'll buy them in wherever they can get them. They'll go to their local bookseller and they'll go get them. Or guess what they'll do? They'll gift it. They'll buy it for somebody else. Library events allow you to connect with people. And guess what all these offline events allow you to do? Get people on your mailing list. Hey, don't forget to sign up for my mailing list. Right? Awesome. Awesome opportunity. Okay, I'm going to check the chat super quick. Right? And so basically, looking at all of these different pieces that we're putting together here, you can see how online and offline are a handshake, right? They work together. Hey, sign up for my email newsletter. Join me on my Facebook page. Follow me on Instagram. You see how all these different things, they actually come together and say, hey, let me keep in touch with you. That would be great, right? And so part of them, you want to keep in mind, what are you thinking about? How do you put together the plan that's right for you? Because you really want to understand, what are you doing? How are you reaching them? And these pieces are really important because when you put your plan together, I promise you, you're not going to be able to do everything all at the same time. Right? That's why I gave you the timeline. Okay. Now, measuring. Oh, everybody hates measuring. This is very important. How often you connect is important. Frequency is important. How often do you post? It depends on where you are. Okay. I know people who post every day on X, Twitter. I call it Twitter because I would prefer to call it Twitter personally. But they post every day. I know people who post every day on LinkedIn, people who post every other day on Facebook, people who post 6 times a day on Instagram. Why? Remember that FOMO thing I talked about? Right? You also want to create after release goals. These are very important. Weighing and measuring is really important. What's working? Where are you spending money on marketing? Is it working? Are you getting a return on your investment? This is the business side of books. You've got to understand where your return on investment is coming from. If your ROI is not going to pay for you to go to that local independent bookseller, don't do it. If your ROI is not happening in your ads that you're running on Facebook, don't do it. But do it long enough. Do it for 6 months. Do it for 9 months, a year, before you just throw in the towel and say, hey, it's not working. Okay? The other thing that you want to do in weighing and measuring is you want to understand what are you doing and what could you be doing. Remember, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? However, you don't want to just say, oh, I'm too busy doing what I'm doing for 6 months. I'm going to read about that later. Okay? Just pay attention to it. You may be like, oh, hey, you know what? I could do that. Or it might integrate with what I'm doing. Or maybe I should think about that for next year. After release goals are really important. So let me tell you a story about one of my clients. One of my clients came to me. She was part of a publishing group. She found me through that group who I'd spoken for, just like this. And she was writing historical Christian romance, a very difficult category to rank in because people own the top spots, right? Okay. So she came to me. She said, I want to be an Amazon bestseller. I've never been. This is my 8th book. Written them. They've been published. I've created audiobooks. I've never been a bestseller. I really want to do it. I said, okay. It took us 6 weeks to prepare for the campaign days, 48 hours that we ran it. Do you hear the planning that I'm talking about? Right? And she actually told me, because one of my questions was, what else are you doing to promote the book when it comes out? And we went down her list, and I gave her all of these instructions for all her other team members so that all of our efforts would be coordinated around this Amazon bestseller campaign. So it's a very difficult category, right? Well, we had devised that she would be online both nights on Zoom. The first night she was going to interview other writers, writing friends she had, to talk about her book and to also talk about them a little bit and help them. Well, guess what? The first night, she was already an Amazon bestseller. She was already in the top 10, pushing on the top 5. Her parents were in tears. She was in tears. And I must admit, I was in tears. It was so great. Why? Because of the planning. The planning matters. When you're going to do something, when you're going to do an event, you want to put out a press release about the event. You want to tell the media, you want to tell people, you want to put it on community calendars. You want to tell people. Don't just schedule an event and then, right? Hey, look at my street corner. Guess what I'm doing, right? This is marketing. This is marketing. Okay. So measuring and weighing what you're doing matters, right? You want to do the things that you enjoy, where you can be yourself, where you can have fun, and you get a return. You get a return on that. That's really what matters, because you want to be actually tracking quarterly at a minimum, monthly recommended, depending on what it is, and understand what's working. If something's not working, stop it. Don't keep knocking yourself and saying, why isn't this working? If it's not working, it's not working. Accept it and move on. If it's not working, maybe you need to tweak something before you stop it. Try the tweaking, change it. The marketing you're doing should bring in the results you're seeking. I'm going to repeat that. The marketing you're doing should bring in the results you're seeking. If it's not, do something. Don't just sit there on autopilot. That's not the way to market. Okay? Now, you are the person who can control a lot of this. If you are one of those people who says, I'm not going to a literary agent, I'm going to actually self-publish, you are going to control the release date. And guess what? You control when all this happens. Okay? That's the benefit of self-publishing. That's the benefit of ebook publishing. I have someone who we are in the process. I told you we publish all 5 ways. We have someone publishing right now. He is midstream. We put out his ebook, and we just made it this past Thursday an Amazon bestseller, #1 hot release on Amazon, #1 in the category, and that hot release was in a second category. And that's the ebook. We haven't released the paperback or the hardcover yet. I'm using marketing to build momentum, to build media, to help him communicate about the book, to take him, he's at a nonprofit, to take that nonprofit national through the book. It's strategy, it's marketing, it's just plain darn vanilla marketing, right? It's really something that works. #1 on Amazon. Oh, by the way, and Barnes and Noble, one of the best books of 2024. So these are marketing tactics you can use, right? If you decide to self-publish, you get that control. Now, even if you're with a publisher, you still can actually work around that launch date and different from the release date. I had a client who came to me. She needed marketing help. There was an imprint at Grand Central Books called Castle Press that actually asked her to write a book about crystals. She was a crystal person. They found her. They basically wanted her to write a book about 250 crystals. And the crystal market is very crowded, by the way, and owned at the top. And she needed help because they weren't helping her market, because you are 100% responsible for all the marketing that's going to happen. Do not be fooled. A publisher is not going to market for you. Not going to market. Okay? What you really, really, really need to focus on is how are you going to market your book? Because they're not. In her case, okay, she found me. I worked with her. She was also had a business where she actually saw clients individually and had a newsletter. And guess where her major following was? It was on Facebook. That's right. She had a page. She hired me in November. In December, she called me crying. Facebook shut down my Facebook page. I'm not going to make it. Her book was releasing on January 5th. Crying. I said, I said, you arm wrestle with Facebook. We're going to actually work on your newsletter. And she said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I said, yes, you can. You totally can. We worked with her newsletter base only. Okay. Because we did that, we were able to communicate with them effectively about her year-end specials that she had in her business while teasing them that the book was releasing. Guess what? New year, new you, beginning of January, January 5, right? And then I told her she should do an Amazon bestseller campaign. Now, she chose not to do it directly with me, but I told her a few things. I said, you're somebody who works with tarot cards and crystals and things. Go into your world. Find the date and time you're supposed to actually run this. I'm not going to tell you. You tell me. And so she did. I gave her a couple of other pointers. And you know what? She ran that campaign a week it was actually 10 days after her book released. By the end of the first day, she was number 3 in 3 categories. And then she petered out. Because remember, I told you it's a 48-hour campaign, right? And if she had just kept pushing the next day, but she wasn't working with me. So she didn't have that guidance. And I was like, do you know how long it took me to get her to call herself a bestseller? Like 4 months. I said, you have to go change your bio. You have to go out and let people know you're a bestseller. So it's up to you. You're the person who's going to tell people who you are and what you can do, right? Now, you have to celebrate your success. You have to celebrate every single time you succeed with anything. I made a post. I did something. I made my first reel. I put together this press release. I don't care what it is. I don't care how big you think it is. I don't care how small you think it is. It's our small successes that keep the momentum going, that help us say, I can do this. I can do this. Okay. Listen, honey, if you're not excited about it, who else is going to be? Right? It has to start with you. And if you're going to do an Amazon bestseller campaign, it must be within the first 30 days of the release of the book. Why? Because Amazon only allows you to do a hot release to actually qualify as a #1 new release or hot release in the first 30 days of the book's release. Once you're out of that window, you can still make it a bestseller. Remember that 8th book I told you about for the historical Christian? Okay, but she can't be a brand new hot release. Why not? Because her book was actually a #1 hot release because we did it in that book's release. But we couldn't do that for the first book in her series because that time has passed, right? So you want to make sure that you keep things straight about what your goals are so that you actually focus on what you want. Okay, this is my opportunity to go to the chat now. I think I'm doing okay, right, Rusty? Am I all right? Okay, great. Okay, so great. All right, so I think somebody asked a question about shorts. Is that right on YouTube? Did I see that when I was scrolling through here?
There was a question about shorts, and there was a question about was it using AI to find your audience?
Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Rusty. Okay, so let's scroll to the top. So we had a question about anyone using Gen AI to help build your audience on social, email list, or other. So AI is not necessarily going to help you figure out who your audience is. You are. Ready? 1, I want you to go find 3 or 4 books that are just like yours, or they're speaking to the same people you want to speak to. Go find out who are those people who are following those people. Because you could sit there and say, well, who should I market? You could always put into something like AI, who should I market to for this kind of book? It's going to give you some wild answer or some very generic answer, right? But if you find comps, I also do a comps clinic, but if you find competitive books or comparable titles, go to their website. Who are they talking to? What kind of people are they on? Get on their newsletter. See how they're addressing people. I always tell people this is really like a show and tell game. None of us have anything close to the vest. We all have to put it all out there and leave it all on the table, right? Marketing is not something where you basically hold up all your cards and say, I'm not going to tell you. No way. We all basically just put it all out there and say, hey, this is who I'm talking to. Yeah, you. Find out who they're talking to. They are your market. You're going to do much better faster than AI. I know you may not believe me, but that is true. And actually writing posts and things like that, if you choose to use AI, I have very mixed feelings about AI in many different forms and when it comes to publishing and content. However, I do know that if you have AI draft posts for you for your chosen social media outlet, please edit it. Please read it. And if you need a resource, I know an editor, not me, who is specifically editing AI content for posts, because it has to match your tone, your personality. How would you say that? Just because AI spits you out a post or spits you out something to put in an email for your list doesn't mean it's you. Got to sound like you. It's got to be like you. And if I meet you in person, it better match. It's really, really important because it creates cognitive dissonance with people you meet and they don't want to follow you anymore. You want to endear them and invite them to you. Okay, let's go to YouTube. Okay, I know I went really fast. Sorry, everybody. But okay.
Barbara asked a question near the end of you going in the order. Barbara asked a question about a book that she did in 2017.
Okay. I'm on Val's question. What about
Okay.
if this part of book writing is not
Yeah.
of interest to me? Can you hand it over to somebody else? Absolutely. Yep. You can also hire somebody to help you with marketing. You know, we help you, we teach you, we also get you resources if you want them and refer you. There's lots of ways that you can work with marketing. I have people who tell me, I hate marketing. I just want to write my book. And that's okay too. And no hard feelings and no bad feelings either. If you're going to lash yourself with a wet noodle, I always say do it for 5 minutes and then it's over. Move forward. Not going to get you where you want to go. All right. Now let's go to our YouTube Shorts question that I saw. I know it's here. I'm going to talk about Pinterest in a minute. Okay. Okay, let's see. We've got threads. People are talking about threads. Threads are sort of, you know, if you're going to do threads, you got to actually master threads. You got to really understand how to leverage threads. If you're just going to play on threads, don't make that your one thing. If you're going to say, hey, I'm going to actually find my people because they're on threads, That's different. Okay, so that's Threads. Okay. Now, where's my YouTuber? Here she is. Let's see. So Channy. Hi, I see you. Okay, awesome. Okay. YouTube Shorts. Great place. She's 100% right. Shorts are awesome. They also repurpose your reels in a wonderful place that collects them in a series. They are easy to create, and you can actually just claim if you haven't gotten your YouTube channel, go get your YouTube channel. And you can also generate a lot of interest through different shorts that you have. Great outlet. Easy peasy, but it's a repurposing tool for reels. Okay, good. Awesome. Let's see. Great job, Barbara. You've done the book clubs. Fabulous. Great. Okay. Do you have to pay for all the travel expenses? Oh, you mean when you have partnerships, Barbara? Do you want to unmute and just ask me a little bit more detail on that one?
Well, I assume that when you had partnerships like Kirk's and Caicos, you were paid for that. But I mean, if I wanted to do a book signing up in Carmel, I'd have to fly up there and, stay in a hotel and whatever. I'd be responsible for paying for all that.
So for books, so thank you. That's why I wanted you to ask that question. So, I'm happy to pull back the curtain. Turks and Caicos, we made a deal. We basically got the 4-day weekend for no charge, all meals, everything all inclusive in the resort, anything we wanted, and we got the same perks as the people in the program. All we had to do was fly there. And honestly, I went on one of them on points. So they didn't care how we got there, but once we got there, we didn't take out our wallet for a thing, which was part of it. And then we also spoke and yada yada and everything else. So so that worked out really well. When it's a bookseller, okay, when it was Saks Fifth Avenue, yes, we flew to their location, but they did all the promotion. And what Saks did for us, which was great for our gals, was they gave them a private shopping experience when we finished. So we usually finished around 7:45, and they got the store to themselves for 45 minutes with a 25% off coupon for whatever they bought at the register, which was awesome. So for us, we didn't do every Saks Fifth Avenue store, but we did very strategically located stores for the people where we thought we would get the most return, right? Weigh and measure on our investment. And that's what we did. We got in front of those people. Now, some of those people had other women's groups. That was good. Right? We were able to actually connect with them while we were there because we were talking to people. We were in person interacting with people. That's the value of actually doing that. So in your partnerships too, Barbara, you have to weigh and measure, where am I going? Am I just going to be local? So I'll give you some helpful hints here in like 30 seconds because I want to be respectful of time, right? So 30 seconds on this. When you're at a large publisher, like Random House, okay, or if you're like, I don't know, Simon and Schuster, those, I know them all, right? What they would do when they had better marketing departments, okay, is they would create book tours for their authors. Authors, the cookbook authors, the romance authors, any author you want. But their book tours were only like 5 or 6 places. They weren't going all over the country for whatever. For us, remember I told you we had our relationship for 2 years, but we only went 4 times? because they only ran the program 2 times a year, right? So again, you have to understand where you're going to put your marketing budget and how are you going to get that return. That's the important part of it, right? So you want to be able to actually get used to seeing yourself on video, get into the current marketplace, get into the communication that we have. This is really super important because when you do that, you're actually giving people the opportunity to find you. Okay, Bonnie, what's the drawback of self-publishing? Well, I'll give you my 2 cents. I know Rusty put hers in the chat also. So here's the deal, okay? This is what happens with self-publishing. You have to weigh and measure whether it's good for you. I know people, because I help people with literary agents and small, medium, and large publishers too. Okay, you have to set your goal for what you want from your book. Do you want to control when it's going to be published? Do you want somebody else to control when it's going to be published? Do you want a publisher name on it? Do you not want a publisher name on it? What is it that's important to you about this? This is really something that you want to be able to do. And those are some pieces on self-publishing, especially when it comes to marketing, that you want to understand. I'm going to answer one question, Rusty, and then I'm going to go finish my last 2 slides. Is that okay? Okay. Now, somebody asked about something else. You said something about a 2017 book. Oh, any advice for an older book? Okay. Yes. Okay. 2 cents on publicists. Publicity does not equal sales. One of my clients is Victoria Moran. When social media came on set, she hired me to bring her and her books, The Charmed Life, if you ever read it, that's her. She's an in-house author for HarperCollins. She brought me on to bring her into the social media landscape when it first on set. She told me the following. She was a guest on Oprah twice, Book Under the Chairs, the whole thing. Didn't move the dial on her sales. Just because you go out and do publicity does not mean it's going to move your book. It doesn't mean it equals sales. You have to know that no matter how good the publicist is, there are other benefits to publicity, but you have to understand that relationship to sales specifically. 2017 book. Can you do something with that older book? You bet your bottom dollar. You absolutely can, Barbara. You can bring it back. You can update it. You can change it. There's a woman that I know up in Minnesota, I think she is. I've talked to her 3 times. Guess who did the forward for her book years ago when she did it about the workforce? Rudy Giuliani. When all of that trouble started festering, I kept telling her, you've got to republish this book. That forward is going to hurt you. And the worse it gets for him, the worse it's going to get for you in your book. You've got to be smart. Flip it over. You got a great book from 2017. It's not getting a lot of love. If you had a publisher, which you said, and an agent at the time, get the rights back, baby, and go for it. Recast it. Recast it in the light of 2024. That was 7 years ago, my friend. You can do it. All right, let me just give you a couple of last pieces here so you can keep in touch with me. I run a workshop called The Next Bestseller. It's actually at the end, at the beginning of November. It's on Zoom. And you can go to thenextbestseller.com. It's only for 8 writers. We already have a seat that's sold. It sells out. It's for book writers, screenwriters, script writers, and playwrights. Rusty, I'll send you some separate information on this because if anybody from your group comes, I want to talk to you about that. This is where you learn to pitch. This is where you understand what you need in order to connect with literary, film, television, Broadway. You learn how to market. You work with multi-award-winning Hollywood producers. You work with people who are in literary, publishers, agents directly. You work with television producers. It's Friday night through Sunday evening. If you have questions, just email me or go to thenextbestseller.com. Our schedule is out there. Our trainers are out there. We've been covered by Entrepreneur Magazine. This is our 11th workshop. Okay. All right. If you want to write with me, I'm not like Rusty. I don't do weekends. So you can do both. I do Thursday nights. Thursday nights. It's 3-hour, it's a 3-hour experience from 5:30 to 8:30. It's every Thursday night except the last Thursday of the month. I help you understand. You're going to be around really high productive writers. I have people who have finished screenplays, novels, books, one-woman shows, all kinds of things in that room. You will write for at least 2+ hours of that time. But you'll also learn how to take a healthy break and how to come back into a writing session so that your creativity remains high and you get great results. All right. If you're not on my newsletter, this is how to do it. We'll put this link in the chat for you. Whoops. So I'll zip that up there in the chat. And if you want to connect with me, this is where I am. Remember I told you about social? Okay. That QR code or this link will get you a 20-minute consultation with me. I'm not going to charge you. Okay. So if you want to talk to me about your project, I'm happy to do that. You have to fill out my application so that I can get a better sense of your book before I talk to you. Okay, anybody have questions? Anybody need this? Want to take a picture? Go for it. Okay. For me, I love doing this session. I love adding value to programs like Rusty's. I love being able to come in and answer questions for you that you've had. I appreciate all of you. And let me get to that link. Great. Thank you so much, Rusty, for doing that. And let me get you that link for the, oops. Here we go. For the newsletter there.
Perfect. I will also make sure that your contact information is in the chat that goes out along with what you have there, and also the screenshots of those. I'll make sure they're available in the document I sent out later to the participants, and your recording will be available to them as well. So,
oh, super duper.
Are there any other questions for Jennifer?
Anything. Doesn't matter. Don't be shy.
Ambika, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't answer your question about Pinterest, did
Hi,
I?
everybody. Yeah, I had to plug in a microphone. Thanks for your patience. Yeah, I some of that just went zipping by at the end. So where do we get a free 20 minutes with you? I would like that, please.
Yeah,
that's in the chat. Rusty did a great job at 1:49.
Is that
the QR code that's in Rusty's post at 1:49. I'll post it for you too. Hold on one second.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Let me go there. Here you go. I'll give you guys this.
Yeah.
So you can do that.
Before I close the chat today, I'll make sure I've got those
there you go.
in the document.
Okay, so it's that shortened URL.
That link there too.
Yeah.
The link above that is
actually the
newsletter.
Okay, got it. All right. Yeah, thanks. This was super informative.
I'm so glad, but I want to answer your question about Pinterest for 30 seconds, if I may. Because I saw that you said that it's a wasteland for you.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Is that right?
that's me though. I mean, um, I'm the kind of creative that makes stuff and didn't think about marketing. So I've been with a publisher and then became one, an indie publisher. And
Great.
I think, my first publisher put in my head, it's not about seller, it's about winning contests and getting your writing credits. So that kind of stuck with me. And, I understand that's me. And honestly, the whole sticker thing on Amazon, even though I publish through Amazon, means doodly squat to me. Even when the New York Times bestseller list was cracked and, some 20 something figured out how to crack that, it's like, really? I get it. We need sales, but I'm a speaker and my books they're big, giant business cards, and I'm the publisher. So like, I know what it's like not getting paid your royalties from a publisher, which is why I became a publisher. And I have a lot of strong feelings about it. But the reason why I'm super
hear 'em.
jazzed about you, Jennifer, is because I just wrote a flash fiction that I think is so badass, and I entered it in a contest.
Yay.
What I do that I think what I want, Jennifer, is I want an agent. That's what I want. I
Awesome.
want somebody else to do this, and I'll pay them a nice big commission.
What a lovely thing. Let me talk to you about Pinterest for 2 seconds, Sambika, and so everybody else can hear, because I apologize. I didn't go to your question. I hate being skipped over with mine. So Pinterest. When Pinterest came out years ago, I went out and I claimed all my little Pinterest sites, right? Because everybody said, go get your Pinterest site. Go. And I said, okay, right? So I went out and I got them all. And we got one for Boys Before Business too. We did zip. We didn't know what the hell was going on in Pinterest, right? And I took my personal Pinterest, and that was where I had the most boards. I like these movies. I like these books. And I said, I'm going to go do something else, right? But I've actually done a deep dive on Pinterest. And you know who our audience is for Boys Before Business? I'll bet you can guess. It's female. Pinterest is 70+% female. And the more I looked, the more I liked. It has the lowest cost ads than any other social platform, and the highest converting ones too. And so we've actually cracked into Pinterest, and we've been only on it for a month and have almost 1,500 followers after a month from our pins and our efforts. It is about keywords. It integrates beautifully with YouTube. It integrates beautifully with Shopify. People have stores out there. They're verified merchants. It is not the Pinterest you knew when they came out and everybody said, go crazy, right? We're actually closing all those other sites because as we've developed our understanding of Pinterest, we've actually created a new presence, and our old presences are competing with our new one. And so we're actually closing them so we can drive that traffic over to us, right? And me, right? On my own, and her on her, whatever, right? But Pinterest, I want to let you know where Pinterest came from, and I'll give you a 15-second thumbnail on this in the interest of time. Pinterest was originally created because it was based on scrapbooking. And who likes scrapbooking? Women, right? That's why they're based on boards. That's why they're pins. That's why if I like recipes, I can go to your page and I can actually pin your recipe because I want to try it and I put it in my scrapbook, right? If I'm decorating my house, I'm going to go here. If I'm looking for a new nail polish, I'm going to go here. That's Pinterest. That's the mindset of the Pinterest person. And so if you know what your books are about and you know what drives people to buy them, then those are the thematics you want to actually put on Pinterest underneath you and your stuff. That's my answer about Pinterest. It's not the way it used to be, but you certainly can leverage it if you take the time to understand it. And especially for kids' books. And if you need somebody for Pinterest for kids' books, I can certainly turn you on to somebody for that.
So
Anyway.
I do have another question because I did follow that link and I signed up for the free workshop. And then the other thing is about being a consultant or something, which I'm not for this. But am I signing up in the right place? I'm
For
still
the
not.
consulting application?
No, that
What
your-
are you talking?
there was a sign me up for 60-minute workshop plus a free workbook, but where's the 20-minute free time? I don't see that.
Oh, that's different. That's the one that I posted at 1:51
151. I don't understand.
in the
What's
chat.
the chat.
If you look at the time,
there's
1:51, I
no
had a
oh,
post.
151.
Yeah. And also Rusty put it at the bottom.
151.
There's the 20-minute. Got a question about the publishing. I'm just going to copy it and put it in again.
Yeah, I see it. I see
Got
it.
it? Okay.
151.
Yeah.
I think I
Well,
signed up
with
on
that, I really appreciate all of you being in this particular space that you're sharing with Rusty this weekend. We need more writers. We need more women writers. We need more writing for us to read. Remember, your writing inspires, educates, and it helps people entertain themselves, right? It motivates them. Without books, we read a lot of dead people. It's one of my favorite things to say. Think about your bookshelf. How many people on your bookshelf are dead? And you're still reading their stuff because it's so freaking good. That's what you're doing for the people who will read your stuff. Keep writing. And Rusty, lots of love, babe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Let's all give her a big round of jazz
Thank you.
applause here. Thank you so much, Jennifer. So appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And that's a wrap.